Hey everyone, it is Jamie from Independent Street Tarot and Seasons and Rituals. I am a practicing tarot card reader. I'm intuitive, and I also do astrology. And so today we're going to be talking about 2026. It is a number 10 year. And in tarot, that is the Wheel of Fortune. And a lot of times in numerology, and I am not a numerology specialist by any means. I am familiar a little bit with numerology. A lot of times when it's a 10 year or you get the number 10, you then add the two numbers so you get the number one. At the same time, because I work more with tarot cards than I do numerology, I definitely see this as a number 10 year because it is a number 10 year and the Wheel of Fortune. And this is talking about movement, momentum, and opportunity coming in. Um, the idea with the wheel is that we don't control it. It is what naturally happens. And I found this very interesting going back on the idea of the two cards we pulled yesterday, which were the Hanged Man and the Empress. And if that video is on, you can check out that video with the Hanged Man and the Empress. Um, because when this is about destiny, and movement and new opportunities coming in, it's going to come in, right? This isn't about control. And even the magician isn't about control. And what's interesting is that when we have the only thing that's moving in these four cards is the wheel. These two aren't moving, they are experiencing, they are getting the lay of the land. Um, the magician understands that he is also the conduit between heaven and earth. But the idea here is accountability, taking stock of where you're at, taking stock of where you'd like to go, seeing what the universe is bringing for you, bringing in towards you. The Wheel of Fortune, to go over a little bit of the symbolism, as you can see here on the outside, these are Egyptian gods. The snake is about going to the underworld, the descent into materialism. Anubis here is about greeting you in the underworld and bringing you back up. And then the Sphinx here is about the knowledge, right? And so it is a cyclical pattern. And it's important for us to see where we are in this pattern and to understand that we can take accountability. Um, and the idea is I guess you could say the idea is like it could change, but taking the accountability, being aware, right? That bringing the unconscious into the conscious, right? Sometimes we go down here and we fall into the depths of materialism. We're not making choices that we would want to be making because we're worried about other things. Um, that maybe aren't important to us anymore, or that were important to us at one time, but we maybe have enough. I was talking to my sister the other day and I was like, I can't buy any more makeup. I'm done. I'm done. I was cleaning out the makeup and she started laughing. Because I got to take accountability for the amount of makeup that I have, the amount of makeup that I use, the amount of money I'm spending on makeup, my limited space, right? So I took a pause. I went to the middle of the wheel to see what season am I in, and what do I need? What needs to be thrown out, right? Taking that accountability. And coming to the knowledge of I'm good, right? I know how to, I can use these better, or I can use this. This is kind of a funny way of saying this. But you can apply it to a bigger picture. So on the outside, as we are saying, we have the snake, we have Anubis, and we have the Sphinx. You can see the letters T-A-R-O could stand for tarot. It also gets translated into Torah, which is the rule of law. But also R-O-T-A is rota, and that is wheel in Latin. The four figures that we have here are this is Aquarius, this is Scorpio, this is Leo, and then this is Taurus. So it's our four zodiac signs, the four fixed signs, right, which talk about stability. And they are all reading from the Torah, if you will. Let's see what else. We have the four symbols of the four elements, water, fire, earth, and air, and they are shown in their alchem, alcheminal, I can't say it right, but the alchemy symbols of Mercury, sulfur, water. It was the fourth one. Let me see. Hold on, I had it written down. Salt, salt. So mercury, sulfur, salt in water. So in this Wheel of Fortune, it is talking about working with all the elements, but working with this new opportunity that's coming in, working with seeing things differently, right? Understanding that we are not in charge exactly. If we want to be in charge of our lives, we can't control everything. This card has a lot to do with surrender. And it has a lot to do with observation and again, accountability. The magician comes in because it is the number one card. And the way the magician works with us, which I think is beautiful because there's only four cards that have the infinity symbol. And the magician is has the infinity symbol, right? And so working with this Wheel of Fortune, it is coming into this new way of life, right? This new place of where we are being. Um, because it keeps going, right? The wheel keeps turning. There's no way to stop it. There's no really, we can work with the elements, but we've got to understand we can't control the elements. And those are two different energies. When the magician comes in, he understands, again, they understand, right? They're the conduit between heaven and earth. They have all the tools they need in order to manifest what it is that they want to manifest. But the reason that they are such a good manifester is because they see where they are, right? And this is important that we are working with this Wheel of Fortune because it takes us out of the idea of fate and into the a storyline of destiny. And uh, even though we talk about karma with the Wheel of Fortune, the idea is karma is sort of that idea what goes around comes around in that sense of karma. And so, how have you been living your life? Do you want to live it differently? Taking responsibility of who you let in your life, what influences come in. And we have to remember, going back to the idea of the zodiac and the four fixed signs, right? They've all had major shakeups. Taurus has had Uranus in it for the last 7 years. Aquarius now has Pluto in it, who is um, Scorpio's ruler. Leo is opposite of Aquarius, right? So this is when these the four pillars of the zodiac start to shake up and get new energy in, it means everything is changing. And we are in this time of great change. But it's important for you to remember that you have all the things that you need in order to be in this time of change, right? It is important to sit and listen and see what season you're in, right? It's important to communicate, right? That it's Venus. It's important to see your self-worth moving forward. It's important to understand that we're coming into this enlightenment and how things were aren't going to be how they, yeah, the way the things were aren't going to be how they are moving forward. And that's okay, right? And it could be a little jarring, it could be a little scary, but the idea is to understand that the wheel is moving, right? And we have to take accountability and responsibility for what we're asking for. If we ask for a more peaceful life, and let's say it's coming in and life is showing you you don't need these people in your life anymore, you've got to take responsibility for that. You're asking for peace. This is one way that this could come in, right? If you're asking to, you want to make more money, but you don't want to be a little disciplined or um, do some extra things, then you've got to take accountability for that. It's not this idea that you can never relax or take time off, but we really have to pay attention to what it is that we're asking for, what we're thinking about in how it's being presented to us. And if we're going to take accountability for it, I mean, I don't need to be on YouTube as much as I am. I got to take accountability for it. So this month, I'm decided that, I'm going to read a book before I go to bed. So we're working on that. Day two. I'll let you guys know how it goes. But I have to take responsibility for it. If I'm bringing my phone into the room, then I know there's a good chance I'm going to stay on my phone, right? We got to take responsibility. Because when we take these small changes, when we pay attention to what it is that we're thinking, it does make us feel empowered, right? It does make us understand that I can work with what's given to me instead of trying to almost work against it. Like I know for a fact, social media does the lights and all this stuff because I get an emotional reaction to it, so I'm going to stay on my phone. I know this. Okay, I have to take responsibility for this. And one way that I do that is then setting up a program, right? So then I don't take it with me. Um, and again, it is the aha. Like I'm not, first and foremost, let me say this. As humans, we do get a bad rap for being not very bright. Okay, but we really are. And we do adapt very quickly, you know? But the idea is that we just have to have a little bit of discipline with it, right? And it's not about making grandiose ideas, it's small steps that get us there. And having that knowledge, right? Oh, again, the Tree of Life pose, which does talk about connecting heaven and earth, just like our friend the magician here, right? But having that knowledge that okay, I know all these things, and I get the idea of being addicted to something and how your body can have emotional reactions to it. Is it's just not mental, right? If it was, we could just like, oh, I'm going to think something else. But understanding these things work together, and then also understanding I can dismantle this. I can work with things in order to get my life over here. It doesn't mean, you know, just like one day you wake up and you're running a marathon, right? With all these things that get us somewhere, it always comes with training, right? It always comes with, you know, seeing where you are in a season, right? It always comes with this idea that I can do it because I'm worthy, right? I'm worthy to have the life that I want. I'm worthy to have peace and quiet. I'm worthy to make an extra I don't know what you guys, I don't know. You know, whatever. Okay. So, but it is not trying, it is working with the seasons, right? It is working with where you are, but also literally what season we're in. The four signs of the zodiac, they always come within a season, right? So, we are in winter now, we're in Capricorn season. And so next week will be, not next week, next season will, I mean, I gotta slow down. Sorry, guys. Next, or the middle of the month, right? Or in a couple weeks, we will move into Aquarius. Okay, Aquarius is right in the dead of winter. Okay, we're back. All right. So what are we working with winter? You know, what can you do? What is a little bit of discipline that you can come into your life, right? And see, like if I just do this a little bit every day, because we're moving back towards more daylight, what is the little change I can make today that's going to help me work with the Wheel of Fortune, work with what season we are now in order to bring in this new fortune, right? In order to see how do I work, you know, in the time of winter, in the space of winter. Again, the Empress, right? The 12 stars, she always knows what month it is. She always knows what season it is. It is about receiving those messages, right? Because when you receive those messages, and you can even say from the unconscious and they become conscious, that is how change happens. And this change is here. It's about us being conscious of this change. It's about us working with the change. And again, it's always moving, you know. Sometimes things are going really well, sometimes things aren't going really well. But the idea is knowing it's always moving. And when things are going well, you know, take note. This is what's working right now. This would be a good time to do A, B, and C to make me feel more stable, right? Okay, maybe this isn't a good time to do A, B, and C because it's not a stable time, right? So I got to do this in order to get to here. But then I know once I get there, things can change and we can keep moving on. And it's always important to remember that we have the tools we need. And if we need extra help, ask for extra help, right? If we need, or if we feel like we need to learn something more, then learn something more. You know, again, it's about being quiet and asking, what do I need in order to get to this place? And it is also about maybe a little bit stepping out of the comfort zone. We talk about that a lot. Um, because the wheel is moving. It's not going to keep us in our comfort zone. It's going to get us to where we need to be. But if you stay more aware of what season you're in, I do think it helps. I do think the same with working with the moon cycles, right? Where is she? How does she move? Understanding things wax and wane. The magician understands this, right? That's why he is pointing to the earth and to the sky. And he understands seasons, right? That's why he has the infinity symbol above his head, right? Because things have to keep moving. Where are we in this idea of eternity? We are in now moving into this age of Aquarius. All those outer planets that take, I was going to be facetious and say millions of years, but you guys are listening to me some for information, take a long time to move, have moved. Pluto has moved into Aquarius. Uranus, granted, it's only 7 years, unlike Pluto's, 18 to 20 years, or Saturn's, oh no, well, Saturn takes 36 years to go all the way around, but it's not into a sign that long. But what was I saying? Uranus is about to move into Gemini. It's this last stint in Uranus. Uranus last stint in Taurus until it moves into Gemini, right? So all those outer planets are moving and changing signs. Right now we have and asteroids too, right? I usually don't talk about asteroids too much because I don't want to bring in so much information that it gets overwhelming because I do want to keep things simple. I do want to keep things light. I want to do things like accessible. Um, but Juno is at 0 degrees of Capricorn right now. She's an asteroid. So we'll talk about her tomorrow when we talk about the full moon that we're coming into. Because I do see this, and I've been talking about this since 2018, 2019, but that divine feminine energy on the planet, is here. We're moving into more of that matriarchal energy. And again, the idea of the matriarchal energy is compassion, understanding, receiving, not quick to react, working with the masculine and the feminine. The feminine, the idea too, just like the word woman has the word man in it, it is sharing that space, and again, this isn't taking a crap on men, right? But it is this idea because men do, I mean, we all have masculine and feminine energies. It's just when we're coming out of a patriarchal society, which is about power over, and this is thousands of years, and I know you guys hear me this, in that, men were put on a pedestal and women were put not on a pedestal, right? And just there's a lot that goes into it, but working with the energy of the Empress and the divine feminine and seeing how that moves, right? Right. You see the water right there, seeing how that moves, and being structured in that and being safe and feeling that, right? Again, Uranus is ending its time in Taurus, and Taurus is ruled by Venus. And that is why we are seeing ourselves differently. That is why we are seeing our self-worth differently. And I mean, that started with the Me Too movement when it came roaring in. And then we were still in that age of Pisces. So it was like we went so far with all this information and with all this movement, and then now we have the current president that we have, right? And then because things weren't sticking, but we were still coming out of that age of Pisces, and now that we're moving more and more into this age of Aquarius, which again is like 2,500 years, right? We're at the very beginning of it. Um, the awakening is happening. And there's no way to go back because of where the planets are and the way that we're moving forward, the way that we're in the wheel of the year. The wheel doesn't roll backwards, my friends. Okay, it's always moving forward, right? The way that it's being supported by the magician, right? So it could feel like things happen by magic, which is good. We always need magic in our lives, um, but positive magic, right? And so it is important to understand if you feel like things are out of control, the wheel is about surrendering. It's about going to the middle. It is about seeing what's happening around you, where you can pump the brakes, and what you can work with in order to get your ship maybe moving in the right direction. Okay. This isn't, if things seem out of control, if things seem overwhelming, um, if things seem hopeless, that is your cue to reach out and find somebody to help you navigate the seasons, navigate where you are in life, navigate the turning of this wheel. This is going to be, you know, it was interesting because, people keep saying time seems really fast and it seems like it's moving really fast. And I'm 50-50 on that. Like, time seems like it's not as heavy, I guess I could say. It's more fluid in a sense. But do I think things are moving quicker? No, I think that we're getting bombarded with more ways to be distracted. So we think things are moving quicker. So if you can, make as much time as you can for quiet time, make as much time as you can to look outside the window, you know, in your mind say, oh, today is this date, the weather is like this, I feel like this. That helps you realign with yourself. That helps you understand where it is, what it is that you're doing and where you're going. And I kind of laugh about that, but it's important because we make so many decisions based on old conversations or past conversations. And the wheel of the year is going to get us to move forward to get to where we are right now, right? And where we need to be. And that's going to be hard if we're sleepwalking and we're unconscious and we're not working with the energy of the hanged man to see that things are changing, that we are changing, that our consciousness is changing. And the way that we can do things is not necessarily going to be like how we did. Okay. And look, if it is overwhelming at the time, okay, I'm a little overwhelmed. That's like I say, I'm a little overwhelmed right now. I'm going to take a breather. Um, and then we're going to get back to it, right? This isn't about, Rome wasn't built in a day, as they always say. But this is about the energy of this year, right? And the beautiful thing about this card is that it has the four zodiac signs. So really pay attention to what season you're in. Right now, we're in winter. Okay, we are in winter. Winter lasts until March, friends. Okay, then we go into spring. And I know that, you know, probably come February, they'll be putting out all the spring flowers. Okay, but it's not. We're still in winter. Take that time to quote unquote slow down, work with these seasons. Then you're going to be able to work with the correct tools that you need in order to manifest the life that you want. Okay, you guys, I'm going to leave it there. Tomorrow I'm going to come on and talk about the full moon that we're having in Cancer, because Cancer is opposite of Capricorn, right? Earth and water. And it's a beautiful full moon. It's a super moon. I do believe it is the rise of Juno. She's signaling her return. This divine feminine energy has been signaling this return for a while. And again, this isn't about being a lady or presenting as a lady. This is about the divine feminine energies that we all represent. Okay, so we're going to talk about her tomorrow. And I do see it signaling the end of the idea of Hera and her toxic femininity, and the end of Zeus and his toxic masculinity. So the thing is like, I really can't talk that much about Jupiter. I don't know that much about Jupiter. The things that I can find about Jupiter is that he was still pretty domineering. Um, but the difference is that he sat with Juno and Minerva, okay? And or I would say Juno Minerva sat with Jupiter. Okay, they allowed him to come in with that three. And Minerva is wisdom. Um, Juno is this idea of the divine feminine in cycles, right? So we're going to talk about them tomorrow. I hope you join me for that and talk about this full moon, the super moon that's in Cancer. And what's so interesting is that Jupiter right now is in Cancer. So all of these things are pointing to yes, to me. They're pointing to working with this wheel, working with cycles, working with new opportunities. This is a beautiful card for 2026. I feel very lucky to be alive at this time, even though it seems like a dumpster fire. But we're here in order to bring this into fruition. So if you guys have any questions, please reach out. I hope you guys have a beautiful Friday, and I will see you tomorrow for the full moon.